welcome to the channel. I hope you're all well, doing plenty of fishing. Today we're going to tie a nymph, and it is the black cruncher. Now the cruncher is a very well-known nymph in lake fishing circles, and I have adapted it with some success to the river. It's a fairly simple tying, and I have in the vise a size 14 light nymph hook with a 3mm black or tungsten coloured, nickel coloured, whatever colour you have, bead, and I'll be tying with 6/0 black thread. So let's get on with the tying and just set this bead. And trim off the excess. Right, now I'm going to be using a black, it's dyed black cape. It's a barred hen, and I'm just going to take off one feather, like so, and trim off all of this excess at the bottom. And I'm going to use the bottom fibres for the tail, or some of the bottom fibres anyway. Now this can be tied on larger hooks, smaller hooks, however you want to do it. But it's a very good attractor nymph. And bind that down. And trim off the excess. It does have a rib, and the rib is a fine silver wire. So I'll just break a piece of that off. And tie that in. And bind it down. Back down to the rear of the fly. Now the body of the fly is pheasant tail, and this is a dyed black pheasant tail, centre pheasant tail. And I'm going to take off 5 or 6 fibres. Just tear those off. Trim off the points. And tie them in. And bind down the excess. Right, I'm just going to twist these fibres just a little to give them a bit of extra strength. And wind them up the body. And tie them off, leaving sufficient space to put in the thorax, and trim off the excess. Now we're going to bind on the ribbing, the silver wire ribbing. And tie it off. It should actually break off. Just tidy up. Right, now the thorax is peacock herl, and so I'll just tear off a piece of peacock herl. Find the weak point, there it is, and tie that in. Bind it down, and wind on the thorax. Didn't want that to happen, so I'll find another one. These things happen just when you don't want it to happen. So let's have another go. Sufficient, and tie off the peacock collar. Trim it up. Right, now the feather that I used for the tail, I'm going to use for the collar as well. Just trim off this excess. I'm going to pull back the fibres from the point and tie in the feather at the point. And trim up the excess. And wind on the feather. Just stroke back these fibres so that they go back towards the tail. I'm going to give this 2 wraps, which should be sufficient. And trim off the excess hackle. Tie off the fly. Trim up the tying thread. Got an errant one there going the wrong way. There you have the finished fly. Fairly simple nymph, as I say, an adaptation from the lake fly, but it's proved very successful. If you wanted to tie it in a bigger size, this is a size 12, and it has a 3.3 silver bead on that one. So the options are there in the size and the colour of the bead. Very simple nymph, very successful. Tie some up and catch some fish. Thanks very much for viewing. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.